Hey guys, welcome to Mysteries and Crime. I'm your host, Melissa Thompson. It is November 11th, 2021, and I have just finished watching part one of Dr. Phil with Don Wells and Candus Bly Wells. And the behavior panel was on there. Just Greg and Scott were on, on Dr. Phil. The other Chase and Mark could not make it. So this was interesting. We got to see more of the interview that Scott and Greg did with Don and Candace. And it was very telling. And I had a theory, and I told you guys this yesterday, that I think that the behavioral panel is playing Don and Candace. And today, watching Dr. Phil, it seemed to solidify that for me. It seems to me that they think Don and Candace are hiding something. It almost seems like they're more willing to blame Candace than Dawn, but they think that Dawn knows something. When they asked Candace whether she knew what happened to Summer that day and if she knew who was involved, she was just like, no. It was like not any emotion about it. But this is what raised red flags for Dr. Phil and Greg and Scott, is when they mentioned the cornbread mafia. Now, this is a colloquialism. It's basically a mafia down there. Now, Greg and Scott have both talked about this, and they said it is a real thing. Well, Candace started to bawl her eyes out at the mention of this. And Donald says, well, we tend to stay away from those kinds of people and just hang around with church people. His usual recited answer, if you will. So they found it interesting why she was crying about this, yet there were no tears shed over Summer. Interesting, right? Now, they asked her if she knew if anyone took Summer. And she shook her head no, but it took a very long time for her to actually say verbally no. And that also was another thing that stood out to them. Like, why is she so quiet? And she seemed very unsure of herself at that moment. She seemed like, oh my God, like I'm panicking here. Like she was trying to hold it together, and her language almost seems very rehearsed. She wants to say very little, where Don tends to tell you a lot of information when he is asked a simple question. I've noticed that in the past. And he will go off on tangents that don't even match the questions that were asked to him. Candace is very quiet. Now, I told you guys, Candace and Grandis were left home that day, supposedly with the children. Those two have been the quietest out of the three of them. Don goes everywhere on everyone's channel, and he's talked to the news several times. He has been the spokesperson from the beginning, and Cher from Voices Behind the Wall has confirmed this. She said he wanted to be the spokesperson from the very beginning, even though he was not home, supposedly. Allegedly, he was at work. But this just raises some flags where it seems like he doesn't trust Candace to tell the story of what happened that day. So instead, he is reiterating what she told him and possibly what Grandis told him. Now, Dr. Phil's producer asked Candace if they can go to the home and film, and she declined this. She said, absolutely not. So, Chris McDonough from the interview room gave over his footage to Dr. Phil when he first went into the home, and we all know how that turned out. I mean, the home was in bad shape, in bad condition, and we know that there have been things being done. We know that they have workers in the home and that they have been cleaning up, and we know that they've been working on the staircase. So Dr. Phil showed Chris McDonough's footage of that, and then he said Candace took a while, but eventually said that they could come back and film the basement. Now, he said this was after months of cleaning or weeks of cleaning. And they seemed to set up Summer's area so cute, but not, this was not done when Summer was there. They got her a cute pink and purple little dresser and they had her toys out and stuff. And I can't remember who said this, but somebody that was close to the Wells said that they put her toys away immediately after she went missing. And another thing I wanted to bring up about the behavioral panel and Don is that when they were talking to him, they asked him what happened to Summer. And you know how he usually says, well, she went and got gone. That's his language. Well, this time he says, well, she was kidnapped. And they really focused in on the word kidnapped. And Dr. Phil also went on about the word kidnapped, where he said this is an exchange happening. Now, we know that there are a lot of theories out there that allegedly Summer was exchanged on the black market or the dark web, and that it was some kind of transaction and this went awry. I don't know if this is true. This is just one of the theories going around, okay? But we have to look at all theories. And in this interview, this was video footage that was filmed prior to them going on live with Dr. Phil or going to the recording of Dr. Phil, right? So today, we did not see them on the stage. We saw them in the room with Scott and Greg. And eventually, Scott and Greg are pushing Candus so hard, she does not want to answer any more questions, and she's tugging at the lapel microphone on her jean jacket. And she's messing with it, and she's very upset. Yet it doesn't seem that she's upset about Summer. She's upset about the fact that she feels she's being interrogated again. So this tells me that law enforcement has definitely interrogated her, and I think they've interrogated her more than once. So she wanted to get out of there. Now, Greg and Scott said they believe this was deflection. I don't want to face you. I don't want to look at you. I don't want to answer your questions. So I'm going to tuck my chin down and I'm going to start fiddling with something, fidgeting. So she's trying to take off the lapel. Now, Don is trying to calm her down. He has his arm around her and he's rubbing her back. And Greg and Scott reiterate that they're trying to help her. And she goes, nobody is trying to help me. She turned this whole situation onto herself instead of Summer. None of this has anything to do with Summer to her. It's all about me, 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 me. And I feel like Dawn acts this way as well. The attention has to go on them and not Summer. They don't even want to speak their daughter's name. So Greg and Scott see she's done it, and eventually she rips off the lapel microphone and she walks out the door. And they were like, wow. And they kind of knew it was going to happen because after the Cornbread Mafia situation, they were pressing deep. And this time around, after seeing the interview that they put up, they did the news interview and then they did their own interview where they analyzed the behavior, the body language. This time, when they're on Dr. Phil, they seem to look at Don and Candus very differently. They look at them like they are hiding something. And I said to you, it seems more concentrated on Candus, but they think that Don knows something. And I think that they're going to the fact that Candus and Grandis were left alone that day with Summer, okay? So it has to start with them. But we have to remember, Ronnie Lawson has not ruled anybody out. He still says that they are all a person of interest, which is making me believe, like I said, that Donald does not have the 7 alibis for all day long. This is leaving Candus out in the dust because she doesn't go to work. So she's not going to have the alibis that Don does. But if he was so sure about all his alibis, I think he would have been cleared by the TBI, FBI, and Hawkins County Sheriff's Office. The thing is, out of all of this, I think the behavior panel and Dr. Phil thinks that they're both hiding something about Summer Wells' disappearance. And the other thing that was big that came out of this part one of Dr. Phil was Dr. Phil talked about how Candus said she was such an attentive parent by walking her from the trailer after planting flowers with her, and she told the boys to watch her, and she only went back to grandma to fix the brace for 2 to 3 minutes. Dr. Phil emphasized the 2 to 3 minutes, because she was so attentive to watching her. And he said after viewing what the house looked like and her actions before, during, and after, he said he does not believe she's the attentive parent she's making herself out to be. So that was like a big thing to take away from part one today of Dr. Phil's interview. I think Dr. Phil thinks they're both full of it, honestly. I think he knows that they're hiding something. And he said his main concern, like all of us, for doing any of this, is to find out what happened to Summer. Has she been sold? Is she passed away? If so, we need answers to this, because he showed a little clip of what's to come tomorrow. He said somebody just doesn't vanish like that, especially when she went inside her home and you watched her walk inside that home. And the 3 boys were inside the home, and yet Summer is the one that's missing. And you and Grandma were right outside the home, and you have a chain on the driveway, and it's a long driveway. You are pretty much isolated on that property. So my question is, and I'm sure Dr. Phil is thinking the same thing, why don't you want to talk about Summer? He said most parents that are missing their children, they will go on any talk show, news station, YouTube channel, and talk all day and all night about their child. And they also wanted everyone to pay attention about the fact she was asked what should happen to the person that did this. And she hesitates. And so many of us know how we would answer to that question, as Dr. Phil said, if someone hurt our child. It's very different with them. And I know that, in a court of law, it has to be proven, but their actions are speaking way louder than their words here. They don't do anything to find their daughter. Sitting on Facebook every night is not finding your daughter. Go hang up some flyers. Talk about her. I will be back tomorrow with part 2. Let's see what happens when they end up on stage. Dr. Phil says, will Candus walk off tomorrow? But I have a feeling she's going to stick around. She needs to fix her credibility here. I hope all of you are well. Remember to take some time out for some self-care. I hope all of you are having a beautiful week, and I will see you very soon. Take care, you guys. Bye-bye.